Hello, my lovelies, it's Trina, welcome back. So, I think it's time for me to attempt to review Maison Francis Kirkdijan's Baccarat Rouge 540 with a few words about the Extrait version as well. I've been wanting to do this video for a while, but I've been holding out for a couple of reasons. First, I feel this fragrance is not only a masterpiece, but also quite the groundbreaker in our modern era of perfumery, and I just haven't felt my words would be able to do it justice. And second, there are so many reviews that have been already saturating YouTube and other online spaces, and I didn't feel my take would particularly add to the feedback already out there. But hey, because it's so beautiful, no matter how good or bad my description or how much or little I add to the commentary, I've got to talk about it, right? So let's do this. Baccarat Rouge was first released in 2014 by master perfumer Francis Kirkdijan for the brand Baccarat, which was celebrating its 250th anniversary as a French luxury crystal goods producer. The company is famous for its red crystal, and actually I'm not wearing it. Let me change my necklace out for you. Okay, there you go. I've got the Baccarat heart, the famous Baccarat heart around my neck. Got this for a steal secondhand too, by the way. Not showing up pretty well on this shirt, but that's okay. You got a gist of it. I don't know if you can see this, but Baccarat is actually engraved on the back of this piece. Beautiful color. Not only did I get this beautiful pendant secondhand, but I actually got this massive 200 milliliter bottle of fragrance secondhand as well, both through Mercari. And I'd been racing through it, as you can see, at a very high speed. A temperature of 540 degrees is required to obtain this color of crystal, hence the name Baccarat Rouge 540. The perfume was initially released as a limited edition in, I think, different packaging, but it was such a big hit that Francis decided to release it in his own line, MFK, Maison Francis Kirkdijan, in 2015. I love the nod to the Baccarat chandelier on the inside of the sticker on the bottle. I've never laid hands on the Extrait de perfume bottle itself, though I have a sample here. Actually, I have two samples, little guy. And I used to have a decant, but I used it up. It would appear there are some nice patterns on the back of the Extrait version too, though. That version of the perfume, by the way, is supposed to be an intense flanker of the original, but it's more than just intense. We'll get to that later. The French brand Diptyque, by the way, among others, is also known for doing this inside illustration work on their bottles. It's a nice touch to the presentation, I think. Baccarat Rouge 540 is in an eau de parfum or EDP concentration, and it's available in 70 ml and the bigger 200 ml and the smaller 35 ml bottles too. They make a hand cream as well. Here are the notes. So pretty simple notes, right? Deceiving. Before jumping into an attempt to explain exactly what this smells like, I must tell you that BR540 is what I have come to define as a ghost fragrance. So let me qualify here. There are two parts to this ghost quality. First, if you try to smell it directly, I'll do that now. Actually, my nose is pretty good at this. I just think it's more with some other people. Yeah, it's not the same. If you try to smell it on skin or even on a blotter paper, you might not get much. Perhaps a vague wisp of something faintly sweet. And this is because Baccarat Rouge 540 is a molecular scent. Molecules such as the infamous iso super E, ambroxan, vetiveryl acetate, javanol, and cashmeran have become ubiquitous in perfumery. These ingredients came to the forefront with the brand Eccentric Molecules. Maybe some of you are familiar with this brand, which features those 5 molecules I just mentioned as complete fragrances on their own. And I'll review those fragrances later on my channel, I promise. But I do have a full bottle of molecule number 4, or javanol, which smells like fresh sandalwood, but a very airy version of it. I've heard that different aromachemical companies use different names for these molecules, by the way. I think ambroxan is also called Ambrofix and Ambrox DL. But anyway, what these molecules all have in common is a transparency or sheerness to them. The ambroxan, and that's what's in Baccarat Rouge, the ambroxan in here is supposed to emulate the very pricey ambergris, which I lovingly define as whale spout vomit. But it doesn't really do that. It only does it conceptually. It lacks the animalic quality and gives off a very airy, fluffy, intangible quality. I mean, well, all perfume is intangible, but think of it as intangible to the power of 10. BR540 seems to enter and re-enter your personal space at will, jumping in and out from one dimension to the next. And this space-time aberration is the second part of the ghostiness I'm talking about. Baccarat Rouge is a fragrance that lives around you, not on you. Its beauty can be perceived mostly in its sillage and not directly. What's more, it comes and it goes, as I said, and the wearer or people around the wearer might find themselves chasing after it, following an initial perception of it in the air, only to be eluded as it playfully and deviously jumps out of their sensory perception. And that, my friends, is part of this perfume's great appeal, in my view. The Extrait version of the perfume is more intense, and generally speaking, I say yes to intensity in all perfumery, but in this particular case, I think there is a sacrifice. The Extrait version does not seem to have the same degree of the original's exquisite flirtatious sheerness, although it's still there, that ephemeral ghost quality. I did get this small flacon or decant of the intense version in my quest to chase down and capture the ghost, and I succeeded. But I used that up, as I said, and in the end, I feel this perfume is more beautiful when free of any shackles, so that's why I prefer the regular version, but everyone's different. The intense version does last longer, and this lasts long, maybe 30% longer, but it's far pricier, and this stuff is pricey to begin with, so it doesn't justify it for me personally. And the Extrait version also doesn't smell exactly the same. We'll get to that later. For now, what does a Baccarat Rouge 540 smell like? Well, it's indeed a rather difficult perfume to describe, even though the note list is short. And one reason for this is, it's so different straight on the nose. One reason for it being difficult to describe is that it's chock full of contradictions. It's both sweet and dry, warm and cool, young and sophisticated, light and rich, male and female, strong and gentle. It goes on. I believe the ambroxan is important to having created this intentional contradiction, and the notes in here are masterfully and immaculately balanced and blended to perfection, and this fact is a second reason why the scent is difficult to break down. While I won't say this perfume creates a whole new accord, I will say that it's clever and extremely unique, although perhaps not anymore as it's been copied so much now. After you put this on, you'll get wafts of cotton candy or candy floss and caramelized burnt sugar, but it will never feel like saccharin or cloying. I've heard people describe it as very sweet, but it's sweet, yes, but it's not sickly sweet at all. There's a rich, resinous, amber-like vibe to it that magically avoids being too sticky or heavy, and a lovely dusting or lacing of saffron at the top. And of course, there's the woody cedar base, which is luxurious and classy and complements the sweetness beautifully. It's a linear fragrance. What you smell is what you get, and it doesn't morph over time, and I wouldn't want it to. This is hands down my most Is it my most complimented? Yeah, I think it's my most complimented fragrance, and even though one could argue that it's become so ubiquitous that it's lost its appeal, it's still my favorite, one of my signature scents. And again, because it's such a ghost fragrance, when people around me smell it, it's often the case that they have no idea it's me. I'll overhear people a fair pace away mumbling, "Oh my God, what is that incredible smell, and where is it coming from?" And I'll sort of chime in, "It's me, baby." Well, I won't say the baby part to a stranger, but you get my drift. Drift, appropriate word. Yes, this is a pricey fragrance, but I believe it's full bottle worthy. Obviously, I got the big one. First, it smells absolutely amazing, very sexy and intoxicating. And second, the performance is great. It lasts a really long time, projects well, and the sillage is top notch. This one lasts especially long on clothes and hair. The only caveat I would offer is to take caution in the amount you spray. Although I wouldn't say you will annoy people with overspraying as much as you would with overspraying other fragrances, this is definitely a fragrance that can wear you instead of the other way around. So how about the Extrait version of the perfume? Okay, I'm gonna spray this on paper. I'm gonna hope that, okay, I'm gonna put the regular one here. Yeah, it's not working. See, I'm anosmic to it just off paper. It doesn't work that way. But anyway, I can give you some vibes. I've already mentioned that it's pricier, it lasts longer, and it isn't as transparent, but it's also not as sweet, I feel. And this is due to the perceptible bitter almond note in here. So if you want to do this gender thing, you could say that the Extrait version is for guys and the original is for gals, but generally I feel that the gender thing is mostly hogwash anyway, and these scents are definitely unisex. I don't even think that either is marketed toward one gender or the other. Here are the notes of the Extrait. So it starts off with more almond at the top, a little sweeter in the middle with a more impactful jasmine, I think, and then gets a smidge sour near the end with the almond getting bitter. There are more dry woods at the base to create this more grounding effect, but I don't think they're that different really. Just because it's a so-called intense version does not mean it has any more impact than the original in this case, I feel. It's just a different kind of impact. It doesn't have the same airy whoosh effect as the original, the ghostiness. Also, whereas I would wear the original Absolute anytime and anywhere, well actually that's just in theory. I will not wear this willy-nilly anytime because it does cost a lot. But for the intense version, I feel it's perhaps not as versatile, probably more likely to spray this one on at night. And which one is which now? This, yeah, the Extrait version is substantially more expensive than the original, not full body worthy for me personally. Baccarat Rouge 540, both versions have been hyped up a lot, and it's no wonder. Although there is a little more polarity with views on this than I initially thought. It's pretty versatile, day or night, all genders, all seasons, except for extremely hot and humid perhaps. But there are a few situations in which I would not wholeheartedly recommend either of these two scents to you. The first is if you find yourself anosmic to the ambergris or the ambroxan, I should say, meaning you can't smell it. Don't blind buy this one for that reason. You'll smell something and it will likely be pleasant. I've heard people say it's even got like a sweet toothpastey smell to it, but I don't get that personally. But if you're not blown away by it, you likely just need more time with it. At least I hope more time with it will do. I feel bad for anybody that can never perceive this. A second reason not to buy this is if you like to be original and live in a place where perfume culture is thriving. I never have to worry about the latter living in rural Japan. The smell of any high-end or niche fragrance is going to be rare in my neighborhood, so I can be unique. Clearly, Baccarat Rouge 540 is a victim of its own popularity, though, in this regard. It's become one of those fragrances that people can easily identify by its name when they smell it passing by. Nothing about this fragrance smells particularly natural to me, and if the very idea of synthetic smells turns you off, this is a third reason why it's not going to be for you. On a related note, I found a negative review of this scent by someone called Bazbar on Fragrantica that cracked me up enough for me to want to share it with you. So let me just put it above my camera here. I was left so shaken by Baccarat Rouge 540. It has a nauseating iodine-like scent that lingers, and even scrubbing does not help. I can concede and say that it does indeed smell rich, but not a delicate, comfortable, I live in the Ritz and vacation to Europe way. Rather, in a scary, generations of my family have owned mines all over the global south. Grandpa is on his 7th transplant surgery and Grandma poisoned her servant one. This fragrance scares me. I'm 100% serious. And here's another one. Smells like dentist wearing surgical gloves and wrapping the bandage on my jaw. Meanwhile, someone is burning the plastic and candy together in the background. Cotton candy and mosquito spray? Hours of entertainment reading on Fragrantica, I tell you. A fourth situation in which I would not recommend this is if it's outside your budget. Fragrance is a luxury, not a need. I'm not saying this is the most expensive fragrance out there. Far from it, although the Extrait version is pretty ridiculous. But if you're in love with this and can't afford it, there are clones and dupes to consider, and I think I'll share a few of those in an upcoming video. You might already know of a few. Yes, I own and do partake in the clone world. I'll put my video up here all about that. In fact, before splurging on this bottle, I did buy from a clone house, and I might even do it again when this runs out. The first time I smelled Baccarat Rouge 540 was actually not even the real one. I was in Dubai, actually Sharjah technically, next to Dubai. I was visiting a clone house owned by a gentleman I'd taken a perfume course with a year earlier in Dubai, and he'd invited me to swing by. The counter assistant there recommended their BR540 clone to me. I'd not even heard of Baccarat Rouge 540 at the time, and it was love at first sniff for me. Not directly though, like most people. Someone wafted it in front of me on a hanky or something, if I remember correctly. So I bought it on the spot because I loved it, and I figured I might even buy the original later, which I did eventually after going through yet another different clone of the fragrance beforehand. Now fortunately, in all cases, I was able to smell the scent somewhat directly. A lot of people don't because of those strange synthetic molecules. For me, it's the musk note, or the molecular musk note substitute that I tend to be more anosmic to. By the way, it's true, the ingredients in here are, I don't think, the costliest, and they're indeed synthetic. So why the high price? Aroma chemicals do not a bad or cheap perfume make, and you don't pay millions for a work by Salvador Dali or Picasso because of the quality of the paint or the cost of the paper on which it rests. You pay for the art, and in this case, the marketing for sure as well. Well, I have absolutely no regret at having purchased the real McCoy in the end here in Japan. It's a stunning fragrance. Okay, my lovelies, I hope you enjoyed the video. What do you think of this fragrance? Comments are most welcome. See you in my next video. Bye-bye.